how's it going? Welcome back. Today is October 19th, and I'm here to do the reading for the week. It is not a very busy week astrologically in terms of movements. Next week will be bigger because it kicks off on the 27th with that new moon in Scorpio. So that will mean that next week on the 27th, the sun, the moon, Venus, Mercury are all in Scorpio, and the sun and moon will be in direct opposition to Uranus. So that will be a nice, exciting way to kick off the week. In the meantime, this week is a little bit quieter. Now, the planets are still in a splay, so that means probably that your attention is still being pulled in many directions, but you might feel a little bit less frenetic than you have recently. Moon will go into Cancer in a little bit. Right now, moon's in Gemini as I speak, but the moon will be moving into Cancer. So you may be feeling a little bit weepy and forlorn, nostalgic, needing of like carbs and sugars for the next 2 days until the 23rd. And then on the sun will go into Scorpio on the 23rd. Now, I am going to do a separate reading on this Scorpio season because it's a big deal. All those 4 planets in Scorpio is always a little bit more intense than the rest of the transits. So when you have 4 planets in there, plus a Mercury retrograde that will be happening, I think it's going to be a very important season for us. And the key word I was given as I was looking at the charts today is preparation, getting prepared. You know, Game of Thrones used to always talk about winter is coming, and it's the same kind of thing. I also think maybe this is a nice week to help us also get prepared as we as we face the Scorpio season. But you know, even in like, if you look at the agricultural calendar, you have sort of the harvest season, which is the Libra season. And then what happens is the farmers get ready for the spring. That's the next big season when things start to blossom, but it doesn't mean that there isn't stuff that they have to do right now. There's a lot of pruning of old plants or vines to prepare them for the next seeding season. You have to sometimes turn the topsoil to break up whatever's there to be ready for the seeding that comes in the spring. And so there's a lot of work still to be done. Even in this moment where we're not yet in winter, so we're not 100% closed off in our underworld, but we're no longer in sort of, let's say, the outside seasons. Now, of course, this won't be the same for the people that are in the southern hemisphere. I'm talking about northern hemisphere. You guys can flip it. But there is a moment where we prepare. And even in Italy, there's this sort of like big moment that happens right now, which they call the cambio d'armadio, which is when you change all of your clothes from the summer season to the colder season. And so I really think this week in particular, and the whole entire Scorpio season, but this week in particular can be best used to sort of get grounded, get centered, get prepared. You know, they say preparation is half the battle. So it's like, what have you been putting aside that you need to take care of, that you know has to be taken care of? Have you gotten those blood tests? Have you done all your checkups? Did you pay all those bills? You know, tie up any sort of loose strings, because the process of the Scorpio season, I think, is going to be important and transformational. And so the more we've dealt with all the sort of like silly things that we can do that we often put aside, now is a good time to get those things off your to-do list. So I will stop talking about that now and move into the cards. Okay, let's see what the cards have to say for Aries for the week of October 19th. So October 19th to October 26th, what energy can Aries expect for the week of October 19th to October 26th? Okay. Forgiveness. Let's see what else we got. What is the wisdom of the week, please, for Aries? What words of wisdom for Aries for the week of October 19th to October 26th? Aries, October 19th, October 26th. What messages for Aries? Okay, exchanging gifts in the reverse. So this talks about balance, putting things into balance. It's a 9, so also about endings. Forgiveness, releasing the past, making peace with the past. And it's interesting that there's both a human and an animal in both of these. So, and they both have kind of like two different relationships to them. But so, let's keep going. What is the challenge for the week, please, for Aries? What is the challenge for the week for Aries? October 19th, October 26th. What's the challenge for this week? Ooh. Okay, interesting. I'm only going to take the top one. 8 of Cups. So letting go. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting sort of story about using, as I said, in terms of like preparations. Before we can move into anything new, there is a process about closing out the past, about tying up the loose strings, about letting that harvest season come to an end and preparing for the new seeding season. And part of it is in letting go of that which you have held, making peace with your past, but also bringing things into balance. Now, I want to read this one here with this protection message, because even though I've gotten it 1,000 times, I don't remember the protection message. So I just want to see what it is. Be careful what you pray for, because you just might get it, and then realize you don't want to face the hefty price tag that comes with it. You may find yourself in a situation you've always desired, but know you will have to walk away from or even fail at, because you can't or won't pay the dues it asks of you. If you want to be a famous musician, you have to practice your craft every day. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to be responsible for managing the money and paying the taxes. Even a windfall bears a cost. It's okay though, because Spirit will help you achieve balance over time. Another message here reminds you that being only the giver and not the receiver plays out in many relationships in your life, where you find yourself in victim mode, in a codependent dynamic, or holding on to a false sense of control, which is also part of that letting go. Others may push you to continue to prove yourself. The time has come to distance yourself from this kind of imbalance. Being aware of the need for both give and take is the first step to your true destiny. It's all good and getting better. Not only can you handle this, but you can flourish as a result. Okay, so it sort of talks about bringing things into balance and ultimately letting, and this is very much that Mars and Libra energy, being able to bring our past into balance, perhaps also maybe forgiving and letting go of what's not serving us anymore, letting go. And one of the keys to letting go, actually one of the ways we hold on to situations is by continuing to feed them with anger, with resentment, mental energy, thought energy, all of that stuff, and anytime we get mad about a situation, we just feed it. So this talks about really, in order to let go of your past, or to let things fall away from you as you move into the future, is really about bringing your energies into balance. So no longer giving to situations that throw you out of balance. And one of the techniques may be to not only forgive yourself, but forgive the other person, and in order to release that. Now let's see what the cards say. Can I get 3 cards for the story for this week, please? October 19th to the 26th for Aries. 3 cards for the story here. Three cards, please, for Aries. October 19th to October 26th, 2019. You know, and it's interesting that this is an 8 and this is a 9. So it's, and the forgiveness is right in between them. So it's really about, in order to let go of a situation and bring it back into balance, there's going to have to be a moment of peace and forgiveness. And so you may be called to let something go this week, but let it go energetically in your own anger field. Can I have 3 cards, please, for Aries? October 19th. I think I've said before, this deck is a little bit shy. It's funny. It's new in the house, so maybe it's still making friends with the rest. Can I get 3 cards, please, for Aries? October 19th to the 26th. Okay, nice. Ace of Cups. So, yes, starting over from the letting go to the starting over. 2 more cards, please. Like a whole new emotional chapter, you know? 2 more cards, please, for Aries week of October 19th. Okay. 2 of Swords. So indecision on what to do. Interesting, because as the moon is waning. Or it's the thing, you know, it's like that thing that's keeping you in your head, that's keeping you stuck. 1 more card, please, for Aries. Okay. I'm waiting for ships to come in. New Horizons, 3 of Wands. So okay, so in between this new emotion, cup runneth over, things finally starting to come to you. 1, 2, 3, amazing. And also interesting, there's no pentacles. So this is not necessarily a business thing. This isn't about money. This is really about you. And moving from this space into this space, right? It's like, and to be able to put down these swords, these thoughts that you've been holding on to, that you've been feeding with your own sort of blindness, right? A situation where you have chosen, because remember, this woman is there by choice. She is not bound. It's not like the devil. She's not bound. She's sitting there holding these swords and blindfolded by choice. So all she has to do is put down the swords and lift off the blindfold, right? So it's like actively choosing to move out of a state of being, right? And what it looks like to me is that the path out of this is through forgiveness, not only for the other person. You know, we hate to forgive other people because we're like, yeah, but they just wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Look at it from a different point of view, is that every time we choose to go back to, even in our minds, go back to a situation that caused us pain, we actually choose to inflict that pain on ourselves again. So forgiving it and releasing it, literally forgiving it back to the universe, releasing it from our energetic field, letting it go, letting it fall away like just another drop into the ocean so that our cup can runneth over. We have to release ourselves from this bind of continuing to think about it and keep ourselves in. So there is a situation that you continue to think about and ruminate over, perhaps in anger, perhaps about an imbalance that or injustice that you've suffered, where you gave more to something and you're waiting to get that balance back. You're like, I'm not leaving until I get what I'm owed, which may be an apology, which may be revenge, which may be money, whatever you're waiting for this other entity to give you back. They can't. They can't do it. Why? Because you're not on the same level. You're not on the same level. You're not even the same species, So, I've had my fair share of interactions with narcissists, starting with my own father. And I used to describe, once I finally got clear on the situation, I used to describe that the process of me trying to get an emotional response from my father, a lot like trying to get oil from a stone, right? It can't do it. It cannot. It's not in its nature. It is not in its nature to be able to give you what it is that you need. So whatever that situation is, where you're holding on to or expecting someone, something, whatever it is, to give you what you want, and you're waiting, that you're allowing that waiting, interesting, you're allowing that waiting to keep you still, stuck, sandwiched in between new starts and things flowing towards you. Remember, these are ships that sail towards you. This is lots of the water plays a big role in all of these in these three cards here, which means that the water is trying to bring us something. So I expect movement in the Scorpio season. But right now, this sort of triangle here lets us know that whatever situation we continue to feed with our own anger, with our thoughts, where we are expecting something from the other side, that's going to keep us stuck here and stuck here. And it's time for us to actually start looking off onto better shores, because there's better things coming in. But in order for us to actually physically be able to get here, we have to put down these swords and take off these blindfolds. And the way that happens is through forgiving the situation, forgiving ourselves for being in that situation. I'll put the Ho'oponopono meditation down there. It's something I've given to people I've worked with. I've done it myself. It's incredibly powerful. You think, like, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't need to, I can forgive myself. It's easy. And it's surprising when you actually do this meditation, how hard it is, and how much hatred for ourselves we have actually built up by knowing that frequently we've put ourselves into situations that we knew weren't good for us. And so that's also part of this forgiveness. And perhaps sometimes the waiting there is that we don't want to have to admit that we were foolish to sit in that situation that was so off balanced for so long. But shit happens and we make mistakes, and that's how we learn from our mistakes. If we weren't in there, we wouldn't know to avoid it in the future. So sometimes you have to go through it to be able to get past it, you know? So yes, as starting with what I said at the beginning, the preparation, this preparation for these two cards here is, or what's going to come in Scorpio season needs to start this week with a recognizing situations that are out of balance, where we are expecting gifts, things to be given to us from creatures who aren't capable. They can't, because they're not even in our genetic classification, right? Accept that. One of the hardest things, anyone who's dealing with a narcissist right now, one of the hardest things to accept is that you say, well, why do they behave like this? Why don't they behave differently? Why don't they have empathy? And the truth is, it's actually biological. The brain of a narcissist is different than the brain of a neuronormal, as they're called, someone who is capable of feeling empathy. So when you are you keep expecting them to behave like a neuronormal person, but they can't. They literally neurologically cannot behave the way that you would like them to. And so instead of waiting for this to happen, it's just a process of acceptance, which is part of the forgiveness, accepting that things are the way they are, and it's not up to you to change them. It's up to you to free yourself. Okay, let's get some energy or some advice cards. This is getting long. Sorry, I wanted to keep it short. Can I get a spirit animal card for Aries the week of October 19th? Spirit animal advice for the week of October 19th for Aries, please. I'm going to take this one. I got this the other day. So, wasp spirit. Sometimes life stings. And this is a 10. So we have a 1, 2, and a 3, an 8, a 9, and a 10 here. So there's very clear progression from the universe. I'm going to read this to you. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So, not easy to love. But when we look through the eyes of wasp spirit, we recognize that even though sometimes life stings, there is a purpose for pain, just as there is a purpose for wasps in the natural world. Wasps keep insect populations down, supporting the growth of plants. So too, the sting of life may hurt, and you may feel deeply disappointed or even resentful that wasp spirit has shown up, but you will soon see that spirit has something wonderful in store for you. You may well come to realize that being stung led to something far better than you had envisioned for yourself. Perhaps behind the scenes, wasp spirit was conspiring with spirit to ensure that you could grow something of value to you. And that's interesting because I was talking about the agricultural, so talking about something growing. Spirit has a plan, and wasp spirit plays a part. Yes, so for those of you who are dealing with this person, that was their job in your life. It doesn't mean you have to hold on to them. Have you ever looked back and been glad your prayers weren't answered? Oh, that's crazy, because that's what this one said too. Because the path you took led to something far better. Wasp spirit is a reminder to reflect on those times, for today's sting may hurt, but something better awaits you. Awesome. I want to get one last blessing here from the Keepers of the Light. Although this looks pretty tight, but let's see. Can I get one message from the Ascended Masters for us? I'm not going to take it. For the week of October 19th. Week of October 19th. The Divine Director. That's funny. Intervention and purpose. Divine intervention is occurring. Know that you are being guided. Happiness is your purpose. Okay, so again, there's the purple. So, higher, those are protection energies. Let's read what the Divine Director has to say. And then I'm going to do that. I will be doing the reading for the Scorpio season over the next couple of days. Here it goes, 100. Interesting. It's on page 100. So, 1. So the Divine Director is a facet of the heart of the Creator. According to New Thought teaching, his energy is merged directly with God's divine plan, so that we can access it and understand on a deeper level what will support our true function, which is to be happy. The Divine Director works directly with the angels, and in particular guardian angels, so that they can fulfill their role of supporting the earth and all her people. Right now, your angels are reminding you that your divine purpose on earth is to remember love and do what makes you happy. Right? So that means stepping out of these imbalanced situations and in things that cause you pain. So time to step away from the pain and towards things that make you happy. Divine intervention is taking place at this time. What is occurring in your life is providing a real learning curve for your soul. You are becoming aware of a sense of purpose in your life. It gives you a sense of joy. It's something that brings you pleasure rather than something you have to work for. Know that your career can complement your purpose, but not define it. The path you are on at this time is right, and the universe is encouraging you to move forward. Okay? Hope that was helpful. I will see you in the next couple of days for that Scorpio reading. Have a lovely week.